In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. It's going to be a great show today. I'm joined today with Paul Byrne, who's been on the show before, and he's a prominent figure in e-commerce and digital solutions. And as the president of Rozoyo, Paul specializes in providing essential SaaS services for mid-tier merchants. In this episode, we're going to dig into DeepSeek, discussing where it sits in the GPT landscape, how it may be valuable, how it may be a PSYOP, and how it may be good at doing analysis for you. So, Paul, welcome so much to the show. Appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's absolutely great to be here, Manuel. Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to get together to talk about this, in part because there's so much buzz about it. But also, I think there's a lot of a misunderstanding of what DeepSeek R1 is and what its important is. And as I kind of look at my predictions for 2025, I think and we're already seeing it. This is the year that there's going to be a lot of monetization of AI.
Yeah.
And we're going to start seeing not only by the platforms themselves, but also by, those who are building what they call wrappers or, interfaces or some kind of SaaS product that actually, accesses AI information and especially in the large language models. So I thought this would be a good idea to talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, I love it. As the buzz kind of got started, I started to take a look at it. I tried to set up an account. I was not willing to download it onto my equipment,
Yeah.
and when I was trying to use it online, it was glitchy, and the downtime is one of the issues with DeepSeek right now. Whether it's from internal resources or whether it's denial of service attacks, who knows? But they're down about 4 times as much as chat is right now. So has that been your experience?
Yeah, lots of downtime. They had another technical issue that you probably heard about where they had left one of their databases open to the internet. And so obviously within a few days, a hacker group found that and they were able to view user data, prompts, like anything you thought might be private. Was available to them. So who knows, like how much data and how much privacy was compromised with that.
Well, let's just jump into that right away because that's the elephant in the room, which is the ethical guidelines of basically downloading your information into something that is a communist Chinese work product, right? Yeah. So how do we? I mean, for me, that's enough to say I don't care. I'm not interested. I got good resources right now. If you are going to work with DeepSeek, what's kind of the best way to approach it with knowing that?
Yeah. My recommendation is that you avoid uploading any documentation from your company in order to, train or customize the model that you would consider proprietary. If you have an online knowledge base or, a FAQ or something like that you want to upload there, but is already available online, I don't see that there would be, much of an issue with that. But if you're using for internal documents or, you're expecting it to respond to prompts based on, important proprietary information, in the other models, you can upload that and keep it private with a pretty good expectation. Yep. Although, to be honest, it's kind of who you're feeding your information to. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of uploading that. I think if you want to use proprietary information and documentation, you should be running your own version of the model. I don't believe it's a good idea, which is why, this one is kind of interesting because they made it open source. And so you can run it on your own server or even on your local computer. In fact, I ran I think it was the 8B version. I couldn't get 32 to run on my machine. It just took up too many resources, and I don't have like my own little AI rig sitting to the side here. I don't do that much research, but I was able to run it very easily on my local machine. And if you're running it that way, then you're not really concerned. As long as it's your machine, it's not going to connect up. And I did check network traffic, and I thought, I was just siphoning off data somehow, what have you. But that's very difficult to use because the actual code is outsourced, and it runs on top, or outsourced is open sourced, and it runs on top of a thing called Ollama. Ollama was created by Meta. It is also an open source product. And so basically you kind of think of it like it's running in your own private sort of area. So that was not created by DeepSeek. It was created by Ollama. So even if it weren't open source, it would be very difficult for it to sort of circumvent the privacy protection and the security that's built into Ollama. So,
all right. Well,
there's another way to run it using the Emu model called Gwen. And I'm not sure I would trust that one.
Yeah, gotcha. So I think kind of the security protocols exist the same as they have for all the other GPTs at this point.
I think so. You probably want to just be a little bit more careful with this one.
Yeah. And unless you're going to air gap it, you got to figure you're going to be sharing data with the GPTs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Well, so go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
So the online version is different. I would just, don't do anything sensitive on the online version.
Right.
I would avoid that completely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've been interacting with the DeepSeek, and what are you noticing is different between, say, DeepSeek Chat and Claude, for instance?
Well, that's a really good question. In part because I'm not really willing to share any of my code with it. And it does I don't think it's any better. My experience is looking at the output. If you look at the metrics that were published, they published metrics showing that R1 is better than Claude or OpenAI 1.0 or something like that, or 0.1. Like their numbering system just drives me crazy. But right, like so. But that being said, it's really not any better than 3.0, which was released in September.
Right,
and so it's not really like in terms of the results. Even if you were to go by their published results, which by the way, they only advertised the metrics where they slightly outperformed other models.
Right.
So there's a lot of hidden stuff going on there. There are lots and lots of pro DeepSeek propaganda, which was interestingly was shown that there were a ton of Chinese social media bots and platforms that were promoting it.
Sure.
So anyway, that's a whole different issue. Like, did they purposely, crash the AI market so that they could short it, which their parent company did short, NVIDIA and some others, before all the hype on R1 was released. But DeepSeek's not a new model. It's been around, like the company has been around for a while. I want to say maybe a couple of years. They've released several models, and this one is is just the most capable.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So some of the analysis that I've seen is saying that it's strong in technical analysis, not so strong in creative writing. What is that? Similar to what you're seeing?
I would say, yeah. Those are the results I was seeing. My results are not, based on my results are me doing my work and testing it out on several different models. It's really not better at anything in my opinion. In fact, it has the same kind of Achilles heel as other LLMs on scheduling problems. Yeah, and if you've tried this out, the only one that really passed was Grok on the scheduling problem that I gave it, where I gave it different calendar metrics to go by. Somebody's available on Tuesdays at 4, and somebody's available every other Tuesday, and somebody's available weekdays, but not but only on the third and second week of the month, etc. And the LLMs really struggle with that. And DeepSeek did okay, but it was not. I had to tell it what date and time the current time was to get a result. It's not aware of that. Whereas Grok knew, and OpenAI, if I gave it the date and time, it gave me as good of, or actually better, and it took less time. So this is OpenAI 3. It took less time to actually go through that iteration process to think through it on OpenAI. So I'm not real convinced that this is going to it's not going to upset anyone. But what they were really focusing on, I mean, in terms of, it's not going to upset the apple cart. It's not like some new amazing model. Yeah, what they were really focused on was the cost and the amount of training they did to achieve the same results. And there are a couple of issues with that. So one, they didn't really disclose everything. So again, you're kind of left to fill in the gaps. And it looks like their parent company has spent over $500 million on compute. And their parent company is a hedge fund that is focused, that does market trading and, of course, normal kind of hedge fund sort of activities.
Yeah.
And it appears that maybe they've divided up the processors that they have between them, between the parent company and DeepSeek. And if that's the case, then they really didn't do it on a much less compute. First of all,
right.
Second of all, they're releasing a product that's essentially equivalent to 4-month-old or maybe 6-month-old product for the other platforms, and of course it's less expensive because that's how that's how they're able to increase the actual the value of the models, is that they make them cheaper to train and cheaper to deploy all the time. So it's not really comparing apples and apples, and so that seems a little disingenuous. And I'm really kind of waiting for the AI researchers who've looked at it directly to be to be a little bit more impressed. To have had more time to to play with it and to determine what it's actually doing. So I'm a little reticent to give any sort of judgment on that. So again, I from that standpoint, I don't think it's really a game changer. And there are so many export controls on the types of processors that they're saying that that would be necessary to train the model.
Yeah.
That they have a pretty high incentive to lie about it. And we know that that is just, that's what the Chinese do, is they just lie about it. They just say, well, we didn't use these processors, or, we didn't do this because, that's how they do business. And they have no accountability for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I landed too, was it disrupted the chips and the other stock markets so much, and they reinforced that message. B, they're censoring answers to things that they don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I saw some analysis that said it was impossible for them to achieve the computing power with what they were claiming they did. Right. So you got those kind of very philosophical, big picture things that says, well, if it's not outputting for the things that I care about, which is content and writing, right? Then so I don't see a whole lot of benefit in terms of against the
Right.
risk of them coming and infecting my whole computer, for instance.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Again, if you're running it locally, there's really no risk that I could determine, and AI researchers have kind of backed this up. So let me ask you a question. What do you think about the claims from Sam Altman and OpenAI? And I don't know if you've heard these, but the claims that they ripped off OpenAI by training their model basically what they're saying is that they prompted their model to prompt OpenAI. And so they were able to take advantage of like all the training that was already in OpenAI to create their results and their weights. What do you think about that?
I would say that seems to be fair play, right?
Exactly.
And shame on them for not having closed that down, right? Like,
well, I don't think you can. It's like if you put something out on the internet and you don't want somebody to quote it, you can't have any expectation that they won't quote it.
yeah.
So
I would think there's a way to for them to be able to filter prompts and then negate answers based on filtered prompts.
Yeah, but they have a lot of really smart people at DeepSeek, and they're going to find ways around that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it may be a violation of terms of use, but good luck proving that.
Especially against a company that's essentially taken all the copyright and material from the last 200 years and turned it into free use.
Exactly. It's hard to have any empathy for them on that one. I agree.
Well, cool. Well, just give me, your perspective on what's the highest and best use for DeepSeek, and then what we should be paying attention to over the next few months to see if we want to jump in.
Right. So I would note one thing. For me, it's more of a cost play. And so DeepSeek has some really good rates. And if you can use it for something that, doesn't require a high level of security, or doesn't require, doesn't have sensitive information in it, I think you will not be affected by bias. Like, for example, I would not implement this in a chatbot, right? Because it's gonna, if it's biased toward the Chinese government, maybe it's biased towards Chinese companies too. Maybe it's biased towards. So I think you got to be really careful with that kind of application. But if you're using it, to, I don't know, edit product descriptions, or from a marketing standpoint, assist in kind of other marketing types of activities that might be helpful, then as long as it doesn't require too much privacy, I would really consider it, because you're going to have this cost advantage. Now, I would note that the most recent model of Google Gemini, which was also released not too long ago, it actually costs less.
Very interesting.
So, however they're doing that, I don't know. And it came out before the DeepSeek model came out. So, there's some problems with the Google products. The interfaces aren't very good. You really have to use it via API. And even there, like you said, there's some reliability problems, et cetera. Although, DeepSeek has definite reliability issues.
Yeah.
But I think that I encourage everybody who's building a product, we build applications for, whether it's marketing or, just managing your business, whatever it is that you're building an application for. If you're using an LLM, you should always build an interface that makes it easy to switch between the various models.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah. So, in part because they're not reliable. Second, like happened with Google Gemini, all the whatever crazy, racial stuff going on there. And just, all of the sort of massive stuffing of DEI initiatives into that. the output was problematic, and it still is to a certain extent. And so if your model develops a hiccup or gets a disease or goes down because and it doesn't matter, is it being attacked, is it just being overused, whatever, like I would even automate switching between models based on my live performance metrics.
Love it. Yeah.
So I think it's a great use for it, and I think it's solidified itself as a player now, and we'll have to see if any of the negatives are so strong it's going to make it difficult to use. I think American companies will have a real hard time using, and most Western companies. So it may be, and there's been quite a bit of prediction around this, that DeepSeek is going to be somewhat limited to China.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a lot of curiosity, a lot of interest right now. There's a lot of concern over the bias. And so I don't know exactly, where that's going to shake out. But if I'm not worried about bias and I don't care, I'm giving it information that, I don't care if the Chinese Communist Party has, then, and it's cost effective for me, I might use it as an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think this kind of model is going to really take off this year, because it's, the thing that people forget is it's open source. And to me, part of the whole, NVIDIA crash, et cetera, was realizing that, hey, there are all these, and OpenAI crash, right?
Yep.
That there are all these other models available out there that are open source. Meta's Llama, which is led by Jan LeCun, and others. I think open source, there's a good chance open sources win, just as Linux has won the server battle.
Right.
Right. I think there's a good chance that these open source LLM models, of which there are thousands available for free online, have a good chance of kind of winning the day. So that's my perspective.
All right. Well, I like it, Paul. I appreciate your making time this morning to check in. And if people want to get in touch with you and have a conversation, how did they do that?
Yeah, just go to my LinkedIn, and it's /PWBYRNE, or you can go to my company's website. It's Razoyo, that's spelled RAZOYO.com. Just hit us up in the contact us form, and you can even potentially schedule a meeting right on there if you'd like to talk to us. But I'd love to hear about any projects you have, whether involve AI or not, that are in the marketing realm.
All right, Paul, I appreciate it. Hang out for me for a second while I close it out, and we'll see you again soon.
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Well, there's an initial view of what it looks like in the DeepSeek world, and maybe if you've got massive amounts of data and you want to save $14.50 per million tokens, then it might be a good application to try. Otherwise, stick with the known quantities and make sure that you're using AI first, staying in the loop, and continuing to test. That's Marketing in the Age of AI. I'm Emmanuel Rose. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.